All right, good evening, everyone. I'll call the meeting back to order. Meeting of the Carver Select Board for Tuesday, March 19th, 2024. If we could all stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our community prayer. Our community prayer. Almighty God, humbly we pray your blessing as we concern our life with the opportunity to serve our community. Enhance us with your spirit of dignity and selflessness. May we become instruments of support and understanding as we seek to bring an environment of trust and purpose among all who provide the many services that make us all that we can become. Help us achieve the goals of our commitment in this office that is now our responsibility. And especially, we lift our prayers for all the citizens of our community that we have been allowed to serve, that they may discover the fullness and joy of life that we all seek, and keep those serving in our armed forces, in our first responders, in our hearts and thoughts. Amen. All right. The first item on our agenda this evening, as always, is citizens' participation. Are there any members of the public who would like to address the board? All right. Seeing none, I will move on to our next agenda item, which is a vote regarding the Assistant Town Administrator, Elaine Weston, to serve as the Interim Town Administrator.
Mr. Chair, I move that we appoint Elaine Weston as the Interim Town Administrator, effective March 25th, 2024, pursuant to the Carver Town bylaws, with said appointment remaining in effect until terminated by a vote of the Select Board.
Second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you. Congratulations, Ms. Weston.
Congratulations.
All right, next. We have a vote to authorize Elaine Weston, the interim town administrator, to be the authorized representative, and to authorize Kim Walsh, finance assistant, to be the temporary authorized reporter preparer of Plymouth County American Rescue Plan Act grants on behalf of the town.
I'll make that
A
motion.
motion? All right.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Mr. Fennessy?
If I may, so this is to vote her, Elaine Weston, interim town administrator. She doesn't become interim until she's sworn in. So you can amend that by saying upon her swearing in.
So I would ask for a motion to just authorize Elaine Weston, when she's sworn in as Assistant Town Administrator, to be the authorized representative, and to authorize Kim Walsh, Finance Assistant, to be the temporary authorized reporter preparer of Plymouth County American Rescue Plan Act grants on behalf of the town.
So there's a motion on the floor. Do you have to amend?
I will amend that, my original motion.
Okay.
And I'll second that.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
And I have a question.
Yes.
Why do we have to do this as the interim town administrator? Couldn't she just decide her own? Why do we have to authorize?
We have to authorize people to act on behalf of the town for ARPA. Mr. Fennessy, you might be able to explain that a little better than I do.
So it's a requirement of the APRA laws that they have to be authorized by the appointing board to get login credentials and other things to certify, so.
Got it.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you. Okay, next we have an item to appoint interim town, appoint Elaine Weston upon her appointment as interim town administrator.
On her swearing in.
I'm trying to swearing in as interim town administrator. Thank you. To the Carver, Marion, Wareham Regional Refuse Disposal District.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you. All right. Next, we have an American Rescue Plan ARPA update of status of projects and approval of additional requests.
Did we get any
Mr.
schedules? No?
Excuse me?
Did we get any schedules?
Yes, there's something. Yeah. Mr. Fennessy.
Yes. So you'll recall that The ARPA project, the Plymouth County had allocated $2,114,308 and some change. I think it's 49 cents. And on the federal side, they allocated $1,231,634 for a total of $3,345,942.49. An update went out to the board regarding the projects that are currently in the queue. There are 8 projects, there are 13 projects now that have already been approved by Plymouth County. That's in that first section. The total amount of those projects that have been approved and we either received the checks or we're awaiting the checks, $631,774.71. We added the corrosion, the well corrosion issue. That's pending level 1 review at Plymouth County, and that's for $61,374. On the second page, we have, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 10 different projects that were approved by the Select Board, and once they're completed, those will be sent to the Plymouth County to see which ones actually qualify. We're hoping they all do, but you never know on some of these. So, and I'll give an update on where these ones stand in terms of how far along we've been in doing these projects. And that amount comes to $1,222,837.28 out of Plymouth County. The third page, ones that were basically not approved by Plymouth County, but they would come out of the federal funds that we have. And if you recall, I just mentioned that we have in federal funds $1,231,634. These ones, there's the middle school culinary, the codification bylaws, which I believe that may be the same as what's going to be on the CPC, but it still can be funded through that. The fire department upgrades on their computers, ballistic protection for public safety, radar alert signs, and the EOC modernization downstairs for the emergency center. So all those together total $1,003,056.44 out of federal.
Mr. Fennessy, could I just add, just on the EOC modernization, if you folks haven't had a chance to stop into the EOC downstairs and see what they've done down there, you really should. They did a tremendous
Shocking.
job down there. Really, what a difference.
And even brightened up. Go ahead.
Really, I was just going to say, for the audience that is here tonight, we might want to not use acronyms. So the ARPA is the American Rescue Plan Act, and the EOC is the Emergency Operations Center, just so people know what we're talking about.
I know, we get so used to just going
absolutely.
with these things.
Very,
so.
very good.
So on the fourth page, you'll see the top is the Plymouth County allocation, the $2,114,308.49. The next column is total approved by Plymouth County, which was $631,774.71. Total submitted and ending approval by Plymouth County is $61,374. That's the $61,374. That's the corrosion in the wells. And the total projects approved by Select Board waiting for project completion was $1,222,837.28. And that leaves a balance at this time of $198,322.50. However, the caveat is that some of these are coming out higher than what the estimates were when we went back 10 months ago and did this. So we'll let those filter out and see how much is left over to then put other things.
So the amount that you said that was left over was?
198,322.50.
So on our sheet, it says
295.
Okay, so this might not have been updated. This is updated today, and I asked her if it was the same one.
Okay.
Kim Walsh, and she said it was, but so the, let me see what's the last one on here is. This is what the deck and the firewall for the police. The deck was 90,000 at the COA, Council on Aging,
Yeah.
and the firewall was 60, I think 6,900 or something.
They're not listed in ours.
Yeah,
6,950.
I don't think the deck is listed on what we have. That might be the,
Okay, so I think those are the changes.
the difference.
The new ones that you should have on your desk, a copy of a letter from,
Mr. Fennessy, before we go on to the new one, can we just, on this recap, can we go back to page 2 for a minute? Okay, I think you had mentioned there were 10 items there. What was your total again? Because I think I have different
Yeah,
numbers.
so
We got 8.
the last two might be, so yours may stop at the EOC?
It does.
Okay, yeah. The next two, which must have been added either yesterday or today, the police department firewall license for $69.50 that you approved last time, and the outside deck of the Council on Aging at $90,000.
Okay, all right.
So
that's-
that brought it down to 222,837.28.
Okay, yeah,
I
thank
brought
you.
it up to that
And
number.
those are in the draft state, correct?
Yes, those are all in the draft state.
Okay, thanks.
So let's just keep in mind when we talk to the departments or whatever's in draft, that there is a deadline coming up to get all these things to Plymouth County. So
Yeah.
we don't want to miss the deadline.
And I was gonna, and I know you mentioned earlier about the board may have projects that they may think they want to put forward that would qualify, because again, we want to use all the money, the Plymouth County money. The other money we can use for anything. So
Absolutely.
So let's wipe out the Plymouth County stuff first. Now, two that may, the ones that may go into Plymouth County and be okay, and we'll have to check with Plymouth County, is the request from the Board of Health agent, Kevin Forg. One of the things that the town has to do on their money, the town's money, is to cap all the wells in the area where there was contamination. So that costs $1,000 per well, and there's 22 wells.
That's
So-
the Plymouth Street water line,
Yes.
correct? That we just, okay.
So that's $22,000, which would most likely qualify for ARPA funding. The other is to purchase 2 electric vehicles, which is on the capital plan right now, but if it can be taken out of the ARPA, then that would release either more money for some other project on the capital plan that may not come through ARPA.
Yeah.
But it's to have the Board of Health, Building Department, Conservation, and the assessors utilize 2 vehicles. And that'll go hand in hand with the electric charging stations that are being prepared to be installed in Carver at our municipal locations.
And just so we're clear for everyone at home and the board as well, as far as the first item, the decommissioning of the wells, that's in response to DEP. That's
Correct.
not
That's
we're
requirement.
not choosing to do that. That's the DEP.
And it's a mandate
Right.
for the town to do, so it's not something you can put on the homeowner.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I just wanted to make sure everyone was clear on that.
What was the cost of the 2 vehicles?
So the
electric?
estimated cost, I talked to
Per vehicle.
Tom.
47.
Yeah, it was
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
47, that's on the high end.
That's per vehicle.
Yeah, so, and there's obviously incentives by the state and probably by the manufacturers too, because they're not selling apparently as hot as they used to. So that'll bring that down, but the goal is to approve enough to cover everything. And then, then you get extra money left over, that's fine.
And I think we've discussed this in this room before, and I know I've discussed it with Mr. Fennessy, but I think one of the things we want to do is we want to approve some things that ultimately there may not be enough Plymouth County money to pay for, but we're going to run up against this June deadline where we can't submit anything else, and we're better off having items approved that there just isn't enough money to pay for than we ended up with $30,000 extra dollars, and it's too late to do anything, so.
Yeah.
So can I ask a question on this list, just definition purposes? I don't know what page is it, page 1 or page 2? It's page 1, 2.
What are you looking for, John?
Last page.
The definition, I guess, of total projects approved by the select board waiting for project completion. Can I interpret that as to say, it's with Plymouth County? They're just going through it, or it hasn't made it to Plymouth County yet?
So if you look at the ARPA application draft state, so the drafts have gone in. The way Plymouth County works is that on certain things, you can't get pre-approval, like pre-money, to do the project. You have to do it and then get reimbursed. So the way we're doing it and the way all the towns are doing it, taking the money out of the federal money to pay as they're preparing them and doing the work. Once the work's completed, and that's that page prior, then we submit all the invoices, all the costs to Plymouth County. They go through their process of voting on it, and then we get that presentation of a check that comes out.
Okay.
So, and just a couple of updates on some of the projects. So the town hall technology upgrade in here, it's basically done. We're just waiting for a few more things on the electrical invoices and work, and that'll be completed. The E911 telecommunication compliance upgrade that's on here, the schools portion has been completed. That's where you pick up the phone and it dials 911 automatically and goes through the system. The town's portion, so the school's portion was $49,806.85. The town's portion will be $7,735.55. John Neely is still waiting for the phone line provider to make back-end changes, and there's not an ETA on when that's going to be completed yet. So that's in the process.
I was just going to add that it doesn't just go to 911 directly, but it tells them what room
Correct, I'm
the
sorry.
call
yeah.
is being made.
Yeah, good point. So it's when they pick up the phone and they call from the school, it'll say exactly the room that they're calling from. So if there's an emergency, they know where to go.
Safety.
The next one is the Emergency Operations Center modernization. We've paid out, so the Plymouth approved the project for, or the Select Board approved the project for $169,000, $169,261.21. Plymouth County ARPA, that's the amount for that, and $41,202.66 for the furniture coming out of the federal funds. So you may recall that the county will not pick up the furniture portion, so that'll come directly out of the federal funds. Where John Neely, again, IT director, as of 3/13, there's still no estimated time of completion due to a manufacturer's back order on certain items down there, but it's probably 90% complete. And the last one is the town-wide secure fiber network total, which is the outdoor fiber network that connected our municipal public safety and other town buildings. And that project was completed. We paid $202,000, well, we paid, but we have invoices, $202,747.17, where we submitted today the details that the police had been paid while they were doing the work on the roads, and that was $8,648.76. Once that's uploaded and in the system, that'll be approved, and we'll be getting that check. So what we're doing with the checks is replenishing the federal money. So once the check comes back, when it goes in, we now have that available in the federal, again, which is good for anything.
Is there a deadline to spend the federal funds?
I'm not aware of one
Okay.
right now. It's till 2026, the end of, all of it has to be done by the end of 2026. So I guess that's the deadline.
But there's no deadline. You know, if we find out, I know we have that June deadline coming up for Plymouth County items. So if we find out in August that Plymouth County's not going to pay for something, can we still
We can-
submit it to the federal, or is it too
Yes.
late?
No, federal's good until it closes.
So that June deadline doesn't apply to the
No, that's
federal?
only a county,
Okay.
a municipal one.
Thank you.
Yep. That's it.
All right. And then you've got two new projects
Oh, yeah,
that
to
you'd
vote
like us
on.
to approve,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah. So it's capped 22 wells at 22,000 and purchased 2 electric vehicles at a total of 96,000.
And the capping the wells, this is something the town is going to be required to do. So if we choose not to fund it through ARPA, the town's going to have to come up with money in a
Yeah,
different
To
way.
pay
to do
for
it.
it, correct. And again, generally, that's a given when it has to do with any
Water.
water source.
Okay. Is there a motion on that first one, the capping of the decommissioning of the 22
Make a
wells?
motion to approve capping of the wells.
Second.
All right, discussion? And the motion is to pay for it through ARPA?
Through ARPA, yeah.
Correct. Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. It is unanimous, and the second proposal is for 2 electric vehicles, and these are $47,000 each. Correct, Mr. Fennessy?
Correct.
I make a motion that we approve the purchase of 2 electric SUV vehicles for use by the Board of Health, Building Department, Conservation, and the assessors at a total of $47,000 per
No.
vehicle.
Okay.
Second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Just quickly, Mr. Fennessy, if we make the motion for 2 vehicles, but somehow there isn't enough money for 2, there's only enough money for 1, is that an issue? Should we approve them?
Maybe prove up to 2 vehicles?
Yeah, that was my question.
That's a good idea, in case, you pull one back.
Okay.
Okay.
Would you be
Motion
willing?
to approve up to 2 electric SUV vehicles for use by the Board of Health, Building Department, Conservation, and assessors. Doesn't the planning department want that too?
Well, it's out of that department,
Okay.
all the
I'll
inspectors.
second that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this? Mr. Ryan?
Yeah, so we, by approving all of this tonight, we still have about $80,000 to $90,000 left, right? So you're saying up to
Yeah.
2 vehicles, but we still have about 90,000 we still have to, just.
But again,
I'm
some
trying
of the projects are coming in over the cost. So
Okay.
we'll have to see what that filters out to when they finish up those projects.
Okay, so we
But
still.
it's still, if there's ideas out, I think it's a good
Yeah, we
idea to
still
get
need
those in
come up with about
the
$90,000
queue.
worth of projects in the queue right now, just
Yeah,
in
I
case.
think the key is for this board, or what I would recommend anyway, is that we approve some items with the understanding that they may not get funded, but they're there, ready to take that money if it's available. We certainly don't want to give any money back.
Right.
And I think the last time I spoke with Treasurer O'Brien, and this may have changed, Mr. Fennessy, if you have any new information, they thought that they might have some additional monies available once it got to June, so there might be an additional allotment that came out to some of the towns. It wouldn't be a lot of money, but there was some, so it's
Yeah.
possible we might end up seeing another $50,000, $60,000
Okay.
from them.
So my follow-on is that who can help to look at projects, because we're already, in March, and it's going to come up fast. So how do we, who's got the action item to look at potential future projects?
So you mean look at to, like, get a quote to see if it's worth?
Well, no, you looked at 2 items that were on the capital plan, the electric vehicles, that was great. Are there any more on the capital plan now that we could entertain, or is there any other ideas? Or who's going to take a look at that, whose role?
I
would
guess
Yeah,
our-
we have to look at
I guess
that,
our
yeah.
interim town administrator will.
Okay, that's where I'm kind of going.
And again, it doesn't have to be on the capital plan, so if any members of the board have a project, for instance, earlier, Mr. Hoffman pushed a plan to redo the roof across the street in Shirtliff Park, correct, on the bandstand, and there could be something out there that you noticed around town, or you just occurred to you that might be a good use of these funds, so,
Okay.
I mean, it has to be applicable to the ARPA funds, but
Okay.
if you have something, please get it to us so we can get it on an agenda.
And could our
You know.
interim town administrator help to look for the next meeting, maybe, at possible ideas?
Sure, I think we've been looking.
Okay,
So
good.
we're continuing to talk to the departments about ideas that they have to get on the agenda. This has been a continuing
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
item, so.
And just one other thing, Carol Julius at the library is looking at outdoor seating for benches and maybe like a
Yeah, no,
picnic
Ms.
table
Weston
or
and I
something,
talked
so-
about that as well.
Which
and I-
is a small thing, so, but it'd be a nice filler.
It would be,
at the
and
end,
get,
yeah.
when the, youth programs or people, and again, those are good filler, right? They're small items that are good filler items. So I think that would be a great
Yep.
project.
Quick question. What happens if we approve this and then all of a sudden, I don't know, a couple weeks from now, someone comes up with this great idea that we love and we want to do that instead?
You can pull
unvote
back.
You unvote something off of the
We
list?
can-
You can
take it
pull
off and
back
put something
off the
back on?
list. Yep,
Okay.
up until we get the check.
Yeah. But again, the time is running short for these great plans to come out because there is a June deadline here, so. Okay. Is there anything else on ARPA?
that's it on that.
Okay. Next
I think we have
is,
to take the vote, did we not take?
Yeah, there was a motion and a
There's a
second.
motion.
and
no,
then
I'm
we
sorry.
discussed it.
I thought we took the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you. It went on so long, I guess I
Thank you, Dan.
thought we took the vote. All right. Next on the agenda is the formation of a committee for the Avenues of Honor program. If you remember, this was approved last year at town meeting, and it just recently came to our attention that I guess the select board is tasked with putting together a committee to put this forward. Mr. Fennessy, was there conversation with the veterans agents about who they wanted on this, or who the suggested people were for this committee?
No, I think Elaine looked up the minutes of the meeting, town meeting, when it was brought up. And
Okay.
there was some discussion by Dan Badger at that time. But it's kind of open. They obviously you want some impact from the veteran services, maybe the select board, and maybe, people just
I know
general
I
population.
talked to the veterans agent at one point, and I think their thought was they would like to be on the committee, certainly the veterans agents, and a couple of members of the select board, and I think 3 veterans from, the general public. And that's we'd have to probably post for that. But we could form that committee now and fill in the names later. Are there members of the select board? Is everyone familiar with this project?
Flag-
A little
flag
bit, but you-
project.
Yeah.
if you want to, maybe the public too would like to hear. a
Yeah,
little
so
more
it's
about it.
to honor veterans with a flag on the poles, the telephone poles and so forth. There's so many veterans that and not enough poles, but they'll rotate the flags of different people over each course of each year. So they'll make sure that they all get up at one time or another. So there was money set aside for that. They want to know about buying the flags, and you usually see these in like cities sometimes and other towns, and it's a nice way to honor veterans.
And doesn't it include their photograph?
Yeah, it can. Some towns just have the name and the banner of what service they served in, but others have pictures of the veterans too. So there'll be a committee set up to review those and kind of push forward to order the flags and keep lists and so forth to get those up for the veterans recognition.
The size of the committee, do you know?
Well, like I said, I did have a discussion with one of the veterans agents, and their suggestion was that the 2 veterans agents be on the committee, 2 members of the select board, and I think 3 veterans from the general public, which we would obviously have to post on our website and have
Yeah.
them apply. So I think 7. We certainly could. That's just a suggestion. We could change that.
6, 7.
If
Yeah, no,
someone
that's
felt-
good.
Sounds good.
That's good. So, can I make a motion? And then discuss?
Yep.
Okay. So I make a motion that we form a committee for the Avenues of Honor, consisting of the 2 veterans agents, 2 select board members, and 3 veterans from the public at large.
All right.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion?
Did we, I know we had talked about this a little bit, about having someone from the DPW on that committee as well.
Oh,
I think that would be a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that would be a good idea to have someone, just because we need to check with, someone needs to check with Eversource to make sure this is good. Does
I don't know if you really, well, my opinion.
They could just interact with the committee, could they?
'Cause their
though? Do
work
they have
is
to
here,
be?
yeah.
Okay.
It just, they'll be the ones making the contacts, from the committee.
Yeah, I think the committee is more to manage
Yeah.
the flags and everything, but yeah, certainly the DPW would have to interact. Do we know if someone in town has contacted Eversource about actually placing these on the?
I don't know that, but
Okay.
I don't think there's a problem because they're in every other town.
Yeah, many towns do it.
Towns that have
But we probably
Eversource.
have to have someone reach
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
And,
Yeah, and it's still a little time away to get to that point, They
I
gotta,
think so. Yeah. All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, it's unanimous. Are there members of the select board who are interested in being on this committee?
I am.
Okay, Ms. Weston, is anyone else?
I can do it too if nobody else.
All right. All right. Is there a motion to appoint Ms. Hewens and Mr. Ryan to this committee?
So moved.
Anyone else interested? All right, we have a motion.
Second?
Is that a second? All right, discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Let's see. Next is a review of the annual a couple of annual town meeting warrant articles, the Community Preservation Committee report and recommendation, and the Senior Veteran Tax Work-Off Program. Why don't we take the tax work-off program first, because that's fairly straightforward. Is there a motion to put the, that would be Article
11?
11. Is there a motion to put Article 11 on the warrant?
Make a motion to put Article 11 on the warrant?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Discussion? Are you here to,
Just in case you guys had any questions about the work-off program or the article, I was happy to answer, but if not, I'm happy not to answer any questions too.
well, why don't we put it on the warrant, and then we'll open it for discussion. There. Well, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. All right. Why don't you give us what background you have on the,
Okay, so the senior work-off program allows seniors who are over 60 years old to volunteer in different town departments. They earn work-off credits at the minimum wage. Currently, the limit is $1,000, which is applied to their third and fourth quarter tax bill. This would just be raising it from $1,000 to $1,500. Not a large number of people participate in it, so it's not a huge hit to the overlay. And it gives them more hours that they can earn and more discount off their taxes, and it helps departments with having more volunteer hours in their offices.
is the number, who sets the number? Is that a number the town sets, or is that a state?
The
item?
limit?
Yes.
That's set by there's a guideline established by the DOR. So the limit is 2,000 for senior work-off, 1,500 for veteran work-off for this fiscal year. Next year, assuming the Modernization Act passes, both of those levels will be brought up to the same. So we may do this again next year where we can make both of them at an equal 2,000. But to have the veterans and the seniors at different levels, it made sense to raise it a little bit and then go for it again next year.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course.
All right. Any other questions from the board? Is there a motion to recommend this article?
I move we recommend the Senior Veteran Tax Work-Off Program.
Thank you.
Article.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you. And now we'll go back to, I believe, it's Article 8? Article 8, the Community Preservation Committee report and recommendations. Is there a motion to put Article 8 on the warrant?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. It is unanimous. Is there a motion to recommend Article 8?
I move that we recommend Article 8.
Second.
All right, discussion? Anyone?
What, has the CPC voted on this at all?
They have voted, we just don't know, we don't have the exact vote from the chair, but he said they approved it.
So they recommended the article, we just don't know what the vote.
I don't know what the vote is. because
Okay.
I don't think he remembered how many members were at the meeting, so he will email me that answer.
Thank you.
And just so people know, the 64,000 and change for open space, community housing, and historic, that's the 10% that we're required every year to put into the fund.
Yeah, I guess I'm not sure what we're voting on. Is it just two items, the $7,000 item and the $51,000 item, or is it also to move money into buckets?
I believe we're voting on parts A, B, and C.
Yep.
Okay. So, I mean, thanks for sending me some information on the financials. But when we first started this fund, I remember reports we used to get on a regular basis that would basically say you start off with zero, right? And then the town puts in their piece, the state puts in their piece. And then there's allocations between the buckets, and the money starts getting spent within these buckets. And this rolls into the next year, and more money comes in and out. First we started buying things, then we started putting debt on items. It just sounds like a very sophisticated financial statement to turn around and say, hey, what's left in the account? How much of it is for affordable housing? How much is for historical preservation? It seems like a lot of this stuff got dropped to this restricted fund balance, I think of 1.8 million. I don't know, maybe it's a question for the next finance
Yeah,
director
I was gonna say,
to straighten out where are we on this, what's left?
It's
So-
probably pretty easy for them to find.
I think so. So your questions really aren't on the article per se, the town meeting warrant
Just
article. It's
we're-
more of an
yeah,
overview
we're
of where the
spending money, what's in
CPC's
it.
at.
And
Yeah.
also, every year, the percentage we get from the state differs.
Right.
So a lot of times it's 100% match, and sometimes it's not, so.
Yeah. But we can do that. We
Yeah.
can have a future agenda item where we have somebody come in and tell us exactly where everything's at with this. Is there a motion to recommend Article 8?
I made that motion, yes.
sorry.
I think, Dan, second.
Was there a second?
I think,
It was Jim.
yeah.
All right.
somebody-
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? Thank you. All right, so next, we have a discussion and possible vote on the town administrator finalist process. So this process is moving right along. I heard from the chairman of the screening committee that they have 4 finalists that they're going to be sending over to the select board. I don't have any information on those finalists, I just know there are 4 finalists. That's all. But I think as we've talked about every time we've had something about this on the warrant, I think it's in everyone's best interest to move this along as quickly as possible. So I think we have a number of votes we have to take tonight. The first is the process of actually, getting through the interview process. And I personally have been thinking a lot about this. I've talked to a lot of people in a lot of different towns about how they do it, because I think we have to be as thorough as we can possibly be with this process. And I would like to recommend to the board that we go through a 3-step process. The first is our public interviews that we've always had. And for those of you who haven't done that before, that's when all the folks come in and we ask them pretty much the same questions. That's done in public, it's on Area 58, and everybody sees that. What a number of towns have done, and I personally think it's a really good idea, is that they invite all these applicants back and they have basically one-on-one interviews with them. What happens is the 5 members of the board would go to 5 separate rooms, probably in town hall, but it could be in the library, it could be anywhere, but it's 5, everyone's separate. And basically the applicants make the rounds, and they spend a half hour with Ms. Hewins and a half hour with Mr. Hoffman, me, and this is something that the select board doesn't get together afterwards and discuss those interviews. They simply have casual conversations with those applicants. And the people I've talked to really thought they went really well. I was concerned that might be in some way a violation of the open meeting law, so I ran it by town council, and it's not. They are familiar with that. What you can't do is get back, after you have these discussions, you don't come back into the room and discuss them, you simply go home. And it seemed to me like that would really give you a chance to get to know some of these folks a little more. So I would like to see that included. And then I think after that, and again, we can discuss it, but I think after that, after we get those two things, we need to come back together as a board and probably narrow it down to a couple of finalists. We probably have a vote, get it down to 2 folks, and then we need to have a couple of members of the select board go out, and I would recommend it, provided they're currently working, you go visit their towns. Maybe you talk to the police chief, or the fire chief, the DPW, whoever you feel you need to talk to, but you arrange that, and you get a feel for where they're at. I believe, I was not on the board when we selected Mr. Malinowski, but I believe, Ms. Hewens, you were on the board, at that time, right?
I was.
And that was done when we hired Mr. Malinowski, am I correct?
You're correct.
Yeah, we hit a couple different towns.
Yeah, so I think that would be a good idea, but again, I don't think we need to do that for all 4. I think we probably should meet as a board and come up with a couple of finalists and then arrange that. How does the board feel about that process?
Sounds good.
It's good.
Makes sense.
Everyone-
I like the idea of the, so it's, they come in for a first interview with us as a board, and then they come back a second time. We don't, you're not taking the people that are coming, say 4 come in. We're not whittling it down to 3 and then having one-offs with 3, it's all 4.
No, all 4.
Yeah.
All 4. You'd have, and I believe Ms. Weston has already sent out a request for you to send her your interview questions that you'd like to ask at the public process. But no, you'd have them all come back, and like I said, one might be in the room next door, one might be in here and there, I don't know, we'll find 5 different rooms, and they'll just rotate around. That's all, and I think it works well. Hopefully, our hope is that we, depending on, what the availability of everyone is, we could conduct the public interview process on either March 26th or March 28th, depending on what the availability of the applicants is, and obviously we don't know that until we get them. Then with a possible date of March 30th for those one-on-ones. That's a Saturday, probably in the morning. And then, of course, we can get back together and vote on a couple of finalists. So if that's good with everyone, once we get the applicants, Ms. Weston will work to put that together.
So it'll be the 26th or the 28th?
26th
We'll
or
have
the
one of those
28th.
two
I'm
nights.
hopeful that we could have all 4 on the same day.
And that would be an evening meeting?
That would be an
Evening.
evening
5
meeting.
p.m.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible if one of them couldn't make the 26th, that we might schedule, that's why we have the 2 dates, because it's possible one of them might not be able to make it, but I think it would be best if we could just do them all
Okay,
on the same night,
and then the one-on-one's on the 30th?
on the
That's
30th.
Saturday. Okay.
Yeah. So.
So just to be real clear, the 26th is a Tuesday, and the 28th is a Thursday?
Right,
Correct.
Okay.
right. And those are proposed dates. It's possible that the applicants won't be able to make any of those dates. So we might have to come back and reschedule them, but we have to.
What if they could make the Saturday? Could we open up a public one and then break into a room after that and close the meeting, do one-on-ones, do it all in one morning?
I mean, that would be a lot. That would be a long day. We probably could, I mean, we'll have to see what their availability is. And, I mean, who knows, they might not be able to make that Saturday. So we just,
Okay.
until we get the applicants in, it's hard to know exactly what people can do and what they can't. I just think it's in our best interest to do it as soon as possible
Okay.
to move the process along. I think, Mr. Fennessy, do you think we need a motion on that, or on that process? We can just
No,
put
you
that in
just
place, right?
do it, yeah.
Yeah,
you
that's what
wanna
I
do.
that's what I thought. So then we need to put together, I think, a couple of subcommittees of the select board. I mean, the first thing is, we're gonna have 2 finalists, so we need to have a couple of members. We'll probably put together 2 different groups that would go out to whatever towns these folks come from and talk to people in those towns. Would probably have to be during the day. So your schedule would have to be relatively flexible. But I think we need to do, that could be the same 2 people that go to both towns, or it could be 2 different groups. It could be one group that goes to one town and one group that goes to another town.
Mr. Chair, as I recall too, one time, We did it by phone. So there were two of us on the phone
Okay.
talking to the various people. So we got the people's names from the town, and then we got their phone numbers, and we called them. They weren't there. We called back. They were there. So that's just an idea,
Yeah.
because a lot of people
That's
aren't
an idea,
free
and I
during
guess
the day.
depending on, again, I think a lot depends on availability. I mean, you could call people from another town, and quite frankly, they could say, yeah, no, really don't feel like talking to you, so you just don't know. But I think, again, it's just one more part of
Yeah.
doing our due diligence. That's
Yeah.
all.
So I have a question. So if we have this public hearing, public meeting, do we have to post that?
Yes.
Yes.
The interviews?
So, yeah, so when will we know? Because today is the 19th, and if we're talking, it's a week is the first one.
Well, hopefully, if we get the applicants tomorrow, and I believe Mr. Mahar said he was going to forward the applicants tomorrow,
Okay.
then Ms. Weston can work on setting that up right away.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a public meeting of the Board of Selectmen. It'll be on Area 58, and just like we've done that before.
Yep.
Got a couple of questions for you. If you do the one-on-ones and the town visits, we may want to come up with a list of questions so that if you split into groups, at least doing the towns, you get the same kind of basic questions answered. And also, I know doing interviews in the public sector, you have to make sure that even if you're doing one-on-ones, you have to, sometimes you have to make sure the basic same questions are being asked too. So we may want to have like a rough format if you're doing the one-on-ones.
So from the folks I talked to that did the one-on-ones, those are really more of just a conversation than they are a strict interview where you're going down a list of questions. They're just a conversation. What's important to you? What's important to me? That type of things. Obviously, for the public process. That's why we ask for the questions, because everybody gets the same questions. As far as going out to the visits, that's something we could
If we
look into.
split up, I was thinking, yeah.
I guess. I mean, it's sort of hard to know where it's going to go, because you don't know what you're going to find out till you get there.
Right.
I kind of personally, I like the idea of having us all do our questions in advance for the public meeting. But then going and having a informal conversation, because a lot of times you get more out of those.
I completely agree with you. That's why when I heard about that, I said, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
But I really think if you can sit down with somebody over a cup of coffee or a tea or something and just have a conversation, I think that's a great way to get to know somebody.
Yeah.
Okay. So are there members of the board who will be willing to sit, who will be willing to go out and go to the other towns? Do we all think we're available?
Depends on the day. I
Yeah.
think.
Yes, yeah.
You need to be flexible.
Just let us know.
Are you interested as well?
It depends on when,
Okay.
Same.
because I have a travel schedule.
All right. So I think we're all interested. Do we need to, Mr. Fennessy, do you think we need to put together a formal group right now, or do you think we can just,
I think as chair, you can do that.
Okay.
Is put recommendations to your fellow, would you be willing to serve on doing this duty? Because it's only two people, it's not a committee.
okay,
So you don't need to have anything formal like that.
so you don't think we need to have a formal vote tonight or anything on that? We can just say, hey, here's a day, can you go do this? Or
Or do you know who's going to do what?
well, I mean, it sounds like everybody would be interested in doing it. So,
But you don't know until
we don't know
day to
what
day.
days.
Yeah.
But we don't know what days are available, and that's part of the issue.
I guess you could do a vote of the concept of
Okay.
having, two members of the select board visit. Is it two finalists?
There will be two finalists. Yeah.
Visit one and two members visit the other, or
Okay.
yeah.
All right, I think the other
Yeah, it
thing
might
we
be
could
good to
probably
do
do,
that.
when we have those interviews on the 26th or the 28th, we could probably have an agenda item for that day and put those, we probably have a little more idea of when, we could probably put that together on that day. And maybe that, if we're all willing, maybe that's a better idea, is to hold off until that meeting.
We
and just
probably can't have more than two members go to a
We
certain
can't,
town.
yeah, it can't, it has to be,
Only limited.
it can't be a quorum.
Okay.
can't be a quorum. So that's what we'll do. So we'll put that,
And-
Ms. Weston, if you could just make a note, we'll do
Maybe a
that.
hybrid too, is if one person can make it, maybe the other one could call too, and you could just do it by remote phone and
Right.
one
Yeah.
person in person too, if, depending on the day and the
Yeah.
time. Like if you were to go and I'm available, I could call and just, we could both ask the questions.
Definitely.
Right. Okay, and then finally, I think we need to appoint a subcommittee, to negotiate the contract. I think we want to have all this in place, because this may move pretty fast, and we may not want to have to come back and have a morning meeting, something just to do this. So I think we need to appoint 2 members who can negotiate a contract with the potential town administrator
I'll volunteer
and
for that.
come back to report to the board. So,
I'll volunteer for that.
Jim and I did it last time.
yeah, I think Jim and you did it, Bob and I did it way back when.
John's volunteering and I would make.
I'm certainly volunteering too. I would like to be involved in that.
Right. Maybe the 2 of you
Think, well,
need a motion.
we need a motion.
I guess I'll make a motion that Mark and John be the negotiators.
Second it.
Is there a second to that motion? All right, discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? It is unanimous, and so the board knows, I have talked to town council, and at some point prior to all that happening, we're gonna have an executive session where we have council come in and talk to us about, different things we can include, not include in the contract, so we're sort of ready for this whole thing.
Okay.
Anybody else have any comments on the whole town administrator process? Again, as soon as we get the packets, we'll get those out to the whole board, so everybody can start reviewing them. And we'll go from there.
So they have 4 finalists? you
They have
said?
4 finalists.
That's good.
Yeah, the way it was described to me, they have 4 finalists, and they have an alternate. I guess they chose an alternate, so they didn't want to send us more than 4. So if somebody drops out, they have somebody ready to come to join in. So,
Didn't we recently vote to allow,
more than 4, yeah, at a minimum of 4.
Minimum of 4.
That was the
I think they had 6 that they were thinking about, but, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't exactly, I know that they voted to forward 4. They voted to forward 4 finalists to the select board. That's all I know. I don't, like I said, I don't know the names, I don't know their backgrounds, I know nothing other than the number. That's all I know, so.
just curious why they wouldn't have sent us 5.
I think they felt strongly about the 4. I mean, it wasn't a detailed discussion
Okay.
that I had. I just got a call saying they have 4.
Okay.
That was it.
That's
So,
good job by them.
I agree.
Kept to the deadline.
I agree. No, I don't, they could, and they, again, everyone has moved with, I think, as quickly as they can, doing their due diligence, and I think that was important. So, all right, town administrator update. Mr. Fennessy.
Thank you. So briefly, I just want to offer this last update to the board. First, I'll get into personnel changes. My last day in Carver Town Administrator is Sunday, March 24th. Yes, it's a Sunday. And if something happens on Saturday or Sunday, I'm there. But first, I want to wish Elaine Weston congratulations and wish her all the best success in her interim role as Town Administrator. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of pressure, and I'm sure you're up to it, Elaine, so congratulations. Some of the personnel changes, we have the new finance director coming on board, Karen Preval, beginning work on March 25th, Monday. And the new payroll and benefits coordinator, Christine Creatia, is in the finance department. She's coming in on Friday, March 29th. Additionally, our new conservation agent, Emil Singh, will begin on April 1st. So that's 3 new employees taken over for prior employees. They're not new positions, but they're new people coming in. So congratulations to them coming in. I'm sure, they'll do well here, working with everybody. On the transition to the interim TA, Elaine has been brought up to speed on various policies and issues that will need her attention over the next few months. For instance, we have a meeting with Mike Palomari tomorrow with the North Carver Water District, and we'll discuss the continuing saga of having the water meter installed in Middleborough as they are handling all the bids and other issues that come with the North Carver Water District. We also met with Kim Walsh, who's the ARPA coordinator in the finance department, and I'm shifting over the authorizations and login credentials to Elaine on the ongoing opioid litigation, as well as the PFAS litigation. She's also attended a lengthy meeting with me on the Gateway Board, our insurance carrier, and she will work together with Ron Griffin from the school district finance to attend and follow through on changes to Gateway, as well as the final establishment of the percentage increase going into FY25. So those are the updates. My final notes. As this is my last select board meeting, I want to say a few things. First, I leave here not to get away from Carver, but to take care of a personal medical situation in my family. Months ago, we found that it was difficult for me to be away for 35 hours a week plus a 2-hour-a-day commute. And the job actually extends well over the 35 hours a week, and Elaine will find that out soon. My choice, which was very difficult to make, was best for my family. So here I am at the end of my time in Carver, and I leave with one regret, and that is that I'm leaving a position in a town that I love, and with a staff that I've come to admire and call them as colleagues and friends. So if I may, I'd like to offer some thanks to some people who had an impact on my time as town administrator. First, to the whole select board, led my entire time that I've been here by Mark Townsend, the chair. I want to thank each of you for your collective support and confidence that you placed in me in this position. And that goes back to even the board that hired me back 2.25 years ago. And I want to thank every one of you. I consider you all friends now, as well as colleagues. And I hope to continue on a relationship with some of you and to continue on in taking part in Carver's activities, which I love. Carver Home Day and the cranberries and all that stuff. So, to my direct staff, Elaine Weston, Shelby Roy, and Nancy Hubbard, for all that you accomplish every day on a day in and day out basis, which all made my job easier and more pleasurable. I want to thank you all. Thank you. To my professional management team, department heads, whose continued diligence in working towards operational efficiency, sometimes even during very trying conditions, has been very impressive, and I want to thank each of you for all you do for the town. To the support staff of the town hall and other departments, most notably Carrie Boss, Jill Martins, Michelle Bremer, Christine Sylvia, Jen Mueller, and Lisa Erickson. I want to thank all of you and everyone else that I don't mention, because I know you're not supposed to name people because you forget people, for always picking up the ball and running with it for your department's benefit. So thank you to that staff, the support staff, that's so very important to the operations of the town. And to all the other employees, the officials, the volunteers of the town of Carver who helped make my stay here both memorable and pleasurable, I again say my sincere thanks. And finally, to my 4 chiefs, as I call them, Chief Tom Walsh, Chief Mark Dufely, Chief Craig Weston, and Chief Mike Ryan. I want to thank each of you for the professional manner in which you manage your departments. You've shown me how a public safety department should be run in a municipality, and you do so by displaying a sincere professionalism, competency, and most importantly, compassion. As I leave here, I sincerely hope that my presence has been a positive and lasting effect on the staff, the public officials, and the residents of the town, because clearly they have all had an impact on me. Over the past 4 months, after the decision was made to leave, I often said to my family and friends that I wish that Carver was my first and only town that I worked in, and not my last. However, in hindsight, what better way to go out than to go out after being at a job that I love, with a staff whom I appreciate and admire. So again, thank you to everybody. Thank you out there to those watching and to my staff and everybody else. And I know I want to apologize for making this sound like an Oscar nominee acceptance statement, but I sincerely want to thank everybody. So thank you, board. And if I may, at the end of this meeting, get a picture with all of you. So that's
Thank
my
you.
update for the day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Let's see. We have the approval of the minutes of March 5th, 2024. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
A motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous.
I wasn't there then.
Okay.
So
So,
you can still vote for it.
okay. We have the executive session minutes of February 27th.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Unanimous. We have the executive session minutes of March 5th.
I have to make a motion to approve with modifications. Do you want me to list the modifications?
Yes, approve and not release.
Yes, a motion to approve and not release with modifications to add Mr. Carter's votes and spell Ms. Ewan's first name, spelled a couple of times different ways.
Yeah,
With
so,
those motions, I'll up that.
It was spell check.
Yeah,
yeah, so the two votes are on the back of the executive session minutes.
yeah.
And Dan added an H to my first name.
Yes.
Twice.
Okay. So is there a motion to approve and not release as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you. We have the MS Bike Race on June 29th, 2024, from approximately 10 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Let's see. Topics not reasonably anticipated. There are none. Select Board announcements. Mr. Ryan.
I'd like to say a sincere thank you to Bob Fennessy for all the experience that you brought to the town and your leadership that you provided to everybody, and we appreciate all the efforts and that you put in, and I wish you the very best.
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate that.
Mr. Carter.
Sure, I'd like to echo Dan's thoughts. Obviously, we've sometimes not agreed on things over the past couple of years, but you came
That's
in
democracy.
you came under tough circumstances, and I want to thank you for all your efforts over the past couple of years.
Thank you, John. Appreciate that.
Ms. Hewens.
I want to thank you for your efforts too, but I also want to thank you for just being you. We're really going to miss you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Mr. Hoffman.
I'm going to be original. I'm going to thank you as well, and really appreciate all the time and effort you've put in, and we wish nothing but the best to you and your family.
Thanks,
You will
Jim.
be missed.
Thank you, Jim.
And yeah, I would echo all those things. You know, Bob and I have spent a lot of time talking over a lot of difficult issues since he first came to Carver. I remember when he came as the interim town administrator, and I remember how happy I was when I found out he was willing to stay on as the permanent town administrator. And as he mentioned earlier, and as Ms. Weston will probably find out, there were a lot of Sunday afternoon and Saturday calls. Things would come up out of the blue, and but Bob was always there. And I don't even want to call Bob the town administrator, because I just want to call him my friend. And Bob, I think you came at a time when we had been through a difficult transition, and you came and you settled everything. You've been visible. You've attended meetings. I've seen you down at the Council on Aging a number of times. You're all over the town. You've made yourself available to everybody. And very happy that we got to know each other. And I appreciate all your hard work.
I feel the same, Mark. Thank
I
you.
could say a lot more, but that's probably enough.
Yeah, thank
So,
you. I appreciate that.
With that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, motion and a second. Our next meeting is March 26, 2024. All in favor of adjournment? Opposed? It is unanimous. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you, Area 58.